Hey everyone, it's Mandy, and today we are going to talk about my experience apartment hunting in San Francisco. If you're a time traveler from the future, we're currently filming in August 2020 and we're living in some really weird times. So since the virus hit a couple of months ago, a lot of companies in the Bay Area implemented a remote work policy. A lot of people I know have moved to South Lake Tahoe, LA, and even Texas. This has resulted in a ton of rentals flooding the market. It's interesting because if you play your cards right, you might be able to lock in a rent-controlled place at a significantly below market price. And if you do plan on staying in the Bay Area for a couple of years, then it's a huge win. My current living situation is a 600 square feet, really outdated studio, so there's not even a washer, dryer in unit, and no dishwasher, and it costs $1,700 per month. I know that sounds really absurd for a lot of people who live in lower cost of living cities, but for reference, I've lived in Texas for over 20 years of my life, and I spent most of my 20s city hopping in the East Coast. San Francisco rent is definitely the most I've ever paid in my entire life. However, I do truly believe that the career trajectory that I'm currently on and the opportunities that I've presented with would not have existed if I did not live in this city. But that's a story for a completely separate video. In this video, we're going to cover what to look for in apartments in San Francisco and my experience apartment hunting. As a disclaimer, these are based on things that I'm looking for and my experience apartment searching, so what you might be looking for and your experience may vary. So my checklist for the perfect apartment in San Francisco is a rent-controlled place, over 700 square feet, at least 2 bedrooms, dishwasher, and in-unit washer-dryer, and of course, in a good neighborhood. A rent-controlled apartment is the first priority on my list because that means they can't dramatically increase the rent on you when your lease is up. This applies to buildings that were built before 1979, so it will be an older building. However, it is possible to find a hidden gem where it's rent-controlled and a renovated unit. Under rent control, the landlord is subject to the San Francisco Rent Board, which determines how much they can increase the rent each year, and that usually ranges anywhere from 1% to 2.5%. This is really important because unlike the luxury condos downtown, you know your rent isn't going to jump by 40% the next year. And yes, that has happened. A few friends I know used to live in the really trendy apartments in downtown San Francisco, and once their lease was up the first year, the landlord basically doubled their rent. It was a little absurd because the landlord was basically like, if you're not going to pay this premium rate, someone will. And sadly, that was the case in the before times before the virus hit. Whenever there was an open house or a new apartment opening, there would be at least 20 people ready to go with an application. However, we are in a drastically different market now in the middle of 2020. The tables have turned and there's surprisingly room to negotiate down. So here's what to expect when apartment hunting during virus times. Number one is that most leasing agents will have tons of pictures or a virtual tour readily available if you want to see the property. Number two is that most places are not taking applications unless you see the place in person. When you're going to the apartment viewing in person, masks are required, and the leasing agent will usually be in the lobby waiting for you while you go up and check out the unit, or they'll wait outside the door. We toured about 4 to 5 different apartments and we found all of these on Zillow, and based on my experience, if you fill out the general web form, you're not going to hear back from anyone. Your best bet is to either email them or text them. So you do have to do a bit of back channeling, so Google their name and then find out which firm they work for and email them that way. Some people will have their phone number readily available in the description. I may have been lucky, but all of the people that I talked to worked directly for the property owner, so I didn't have to pay any broker fees. Just to be on the safe side, be sure to clarify when you're viewing the apartment if there are any hidden fees you should be aware of. Next on the list is the security deposit. So during normal times, this would typically be 1.5x the rent, but since it's 2020, a lot of places have been completely waiving the security deposit or taking a significantly reduced amount. Based on who you're renting through, it might be negotiable. As for income requirements, I've seen it vary from 2.5 to 3 times the rent. My final pro tip before jumping into the apartment tours is that the rent listing might be negotiable. So the way I went about this is that any place that I was potentially interested in, I took an in-person tour just to check that off the list. They basically aren't going to let you sign a lease until you see the place in person. In some cases, since the listing was on the market for more than 1 month, I was able to negotiate $300 off the listing price and 2 months free rent. One of the other places we looked at seemed a little too desperate to lock us into a lease, but they offered $100 off the rent if we signed that exact day. Hard sales tactics don't work on me, so we didn't end up taking that place. So the main takeaway is that if a listing has been on the market for more than a month and the price hasn't dropped yet, there is a little wiggle room to negotiate either a couple of free months of rent or a couple of $100 off the listing price. It doesn't hurt to ask, and in the worst case, they say no and you move on. All right, let's jump into the apartment tours. So the first place we toured was in the Cow Hollow Marina area, and it's a really hilly area, so the benefit is that you can go run outside and get plenty of exercise.
Whoa.
This unit is a 1-bedroom, 1-bath that was across from the park, and it had an in-unit dishwasher, but the laundry is downstairs. As you can see, the price has dropped dramatically, and it hasn't been at this rate since 2012. The Cow Hollow Pacific Heights area is really desirable. There's tons of restaurants and it's super walkable. This is also the most construction I've seen around the city in terms of residential areas, and a lot of people are taking the opportunity to renovate the apartments. Next on the list is a 1-bedroom, 1-bath in Pacific Heights, and this is just a little over 700 square feet. It is older. Oh, this is a huge closet. Hey, I found the closet.
Oh, that is bigger than yours.
You can live in here.
I'm pretty sure this is bigger than Harry Potter's.
Yeah, this is bigger than Harry Potter's. Oh, bathroom's pretty decent, I guess. Okay, so we have 2 medicine cabinets, one in the mirror, and then one in the cabinet here to store stuff. Oh, I like the extra doors too. So not exactly modern, but there's space. Oh, I was right. It is this one.
I think it's fine, all right?
This is actually pretty big. This is bigger than our current studio. This is also one of the very few units that have a renovated kitchen with a dishwasher and in-unit laundry. The only downside was that it didn't have a lot of walls, so it had a lot of windows, but that makes it a little difficult to film videos. So ideally, our apartment would have opportunities for at least 3 different sets. This apartment was really high on our maybe list, and the listing price was $3,500, and we were able to get it down to $3,200 because it was on the market for at least 3 weeks. It also came with 2 months of free rent and 0 security deposit. I don't think I've actually lived in an apartment, which is really sad, that has an in-unit washer and dryer, but that's also because I'm really frugal. A second unit was also available on the top floor, which was the 6th floor, but I'm not really a fan of the elevator. It kind of creeps me out, and I can't imagine trying to fight people for the elevator during really busy morning rush hour. The top unit was also missing laundry, so we would have to take the elevator all the way down to the basement or to do shared laundry.
Sounds like 2.
Pacific Heights is also where Japantown is located, so lots of good eateries and grocery stores. Next up was a rent-controlled high-rise in Cathedral Hill, and a rent-controlled high-rise that's more than 6 floors is actually really rare. There's not many in the city, and the leasing agent told me that for the first time in 5 years, they're only at 85% capacity. The balcony view is great, but the balcony also takes up 80 square feet. This unit is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. It is a little outdated, so I would prefer something that has a renovated kitchen, just because we do plan on filming cooking videos. The bedrooms are also a bit small, so I think this could barely fit a queen-size bed in here.
Pretty small room. Ooh.
So this unit is priced at a very special rate of 30%.
And there's Sebastian. Hi, Sebi. Another downside is that the building only had 2 elevators for 19 floors. Laundry is shared on each floor. Okay, so basically only one household can do laundry at a time. The next unit was a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and this was also high on the maybe list because it had a renovated kitchen and hardwood floors. They also had a cheaper unit available, which was the exact same layout, but it was a little outdated. Alright, and that wraps up our video on apartment hunting in San Francisco, rent controlled edition. Which apartment did you like best? Would you go with any of the ones that you saw in the video today? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, let me know if you would be interested in seeing a high-rise edition where it's not rent controlled units, but it's more of the luxury apartments downtown, and there's a lot more amenities there, and of course it would be a more modern apartment. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. It really helps us out. And if you know anyone who will find this video useful, feel free to share it with them. See you in the next one.